This is stage one, where the richest bowls tournament in the world has been taking place all this week. The Liverpool Victoria Insurance Super Bowl. Well, here inside stage one, you can really feel the tension and the expectancy. Now, if that's what it's like for the audience, imagine how the players must feel. Just one match away from the final and a crack at that £10,000 first prize. There's nothing in bowls to compare with that. Well, let's meet tonight's semi-finalists. Here's Hugh Johns.
Almost inevitably, David Bryant is still with us, the defending champion, the game's #1 player. If it was purely a matter of experience, the championship would be his already. But there's more to bowls than that. Jeannette Conrad has been proving as much all week. She's beaten players of the highest caliber, and the crowd adore her for it. There's another Scot, too, Willie Wood. Nobody's prepared better for Super Bowl week than Willie. He had special bowls manufactured, and they're working well. Noel Burrows is the only Crown Green player to make it this far. Understandable. He's the best. Burroughs is desperately keen to win a big indoor title, and the crowd will be right behind him, too.
Well, I wonder who they'd support if Noel and Jeannette Conrad got to the final. And why not? It could happen. From Jeanette's point of view, she wasn't expected to beat Len Higginbottom. She hadn't a hope against David Cutler. And beat the 1984 World Indoor Champion Jim Baker in straight sets? No chance. But she did. And was on the phone straight away to tell her family and friends back home in Dalkeith, near Edinburgh in Scotland.
What about Mum? What about your gran? She's what? She don't want to speak to me. She'd be too excited, is she?
Well, tonight, David Bryant represents the biggest challenge Jeannette Conrad has ever faced. His list of achievements is really quite staggering. Just look at that. And they're only the singles titles that he's won. David Bryant is the most famous bowler the world has ever known. That's the challenge facing Jeannette Conrad tonight. In fact, Jeannette seemed totally overawed in the first set. It took Bryant only 3 ends to win it 7-0. We join the match at the start of the second end in the second set, and Bryant's already taken a further 2 shots.
It's not a good bowl. It's well short of the jack, but it's an awkward bowl because it's immediately in the forehand draw. And immediately causes Jeannette to try down the backhand track. It's looking good. Now I'm sure that'll perk her up, as will the applause from many of the ladies who are catching to this bowls game here in Manchester this week. Again, a packed house, much of it, I imagine, drawn in by David Bryant and the knowledge that he's got to beat a really top-class new discovery, lady discovery in bowls in Jeannette Conrad.
Jeannette, having bowled a very good first bowl, needs to put another one there to make David think a little more. He hasn't bowled a particularly good first bowl, and his second bowl was equally short, and now it's Jeannette's turn to put the master under pressure.
She's narrow, she won't be happy with that delivery. Bowl cutting away right underneath the 3 bowls that were already up there and the jack, and winds up sort of an outside right. David giving that a lot of land, wondering if the swing will now operate for him. I would have said there was any change there. David's bowl very much on edge as he looks down there, as he stares at it, almost willing it to topple over, because I think if it did fall, it might be the one that was counting. Now that looks better. The land looks right. It's now a question of running. She needs to miss her own ball, just go past it. Certainly in, and might just be scoring 2 now. Tony, you've played alongside David, in fact skipped him so many times to so many great triumphs. What's his attitude in these sort of situations?
Well, his attitude will be one of a little bit of disgust, and as much as his first 3 bowls were for David, very poor bowls. But of course David had played predominantly short ends throughout this match so far, and this is the first time that it had a reasonably long jack. And I think it might be where David weakness lies, and certainly Jeannette must remember this when she's throwing the jack next end.
As it does seem that Jeannette has a set of bowls, borrowed though they may be, which seem to be equipped for any sort of length jack, whereas David has put all his eggs in one basket and said the bowls I've got are for short jacks only, basically.
Yes, Hugh, and it's interesting that David normally plays with a 5 1/16 bowl, and these are 5 1/8, which is slightly bigger than he normally bowls with, and of course the weight is different.
Jeannette, I think, will be unhappy with that final delivery. She only had to cut inside that red bowl of David's to have added to her score on this end. David says we might as well measure. I think it's 2, but we might as well measure them. And the red bowl that they're measuring, if Jeannette had just been able to creep inside of it, and it's quite a long way away from the jack. If she crept inside it, she would definitely have counted another one. As it is, she's got 2. Well, she's got 1 and she's measuring for 2, but I would guarantee that the second is there. Steady hands of David Griffiths doing measuring. He remeasures, but I don't think he has to. David has already accepted that it was 2. In fact, I think he'd accepted that before asking for the measure. It gave them a little brief moment of rest. So, Jeannette Conrad draws level, getting her first score on the board in this match.
Welcome back. Well, 2-all before the break, but then David Bryant started pulling away again. He's got a 3-shot cushion, 5-2 the score, Conlon in deep trouble.
I'll be really surprised if David Bryant has given the £1,000 prize a thought at this moment. He will continue to play the game very tight, and if he gets 2 this end, I think David will be the first to say, am I in the running for the £1,000? Because he won't have realised it.
Crowd willing that bowl on for Jeannette. Warm applause for her. David quite unmoved. Oh, yes. David Bryant getting the applause of a packed house, over 1,000 spectators here. Most of them out there in their hearts wanted this Scottish lady to win, but their heads said possibly not. Playing against the greatest bowler the world has ever seen, the most consistent over the last 20 or 30 years. He's holding 1. He needs 2 for the match. Again, the bowl goes down with a bump, but it doesn't seem to affect the running. Well, there it is. There's the 2 shots that he wants for the match. And Jeannette Conrad has 2 bowls left to alter the situation. She has pulled them out of their hat magically all this week. Can she find another one now? Jeannette, the Scottish champion from Dalkeith, champion of the British Isles as well. But she's up against a man who has won everything the game can offer. So many of the titles, more than once. The bowl tipples over. When it gets there, David gives it applause. I think it may just have cut the count down to a single. So David Bryant now holding 1.
He realises how important this bowl is.
Well, although David doesn't know it down there, we've just had our experts check the stopwatches, and Jim Boyle's time of 7 ends victory, 7-1, 7-2 over Nancy Gibson, 35 minutes. And even if David gets the 2 shots on this end that he wants, he can't now win the £1,000. In fact, he can't even get the 2 shots that he wants on this end. This is the 7th end of this match. David winning the first, scoring 1-2-4 in a 7-0 win, and he's 5-2 up in this one. Holding shot, Jeannette coming back, 1 bowl to deliver.
Jeanette's having a long, hard look at this head, because if she's going to play weight to try and remove the shot bowl, she can easily remove her own bowl, leaving David in a match-winning position. I think she might try the perfect length shot again to try and draw the shot bowl off.
No change. Just 1 to David Bryant. But now in sight of the winning post. I feel that Jeannette Conlon will have to perform miracles out there now to force this match into a 3rd set. David takes the mat. Look at this delivery side, which you've seen so often, Tony.
Yes, David turns the hand to bring his hand level with his knee on delivery, and a perfect follow through. And I think perhaps sometimes the imperfection in delivery by David is probably due to the warm atmosphere and the wet hand, in particular with the larger size bowls he's using. Only occasionally does it happen.
Well, once again, David Bryant with a lead of 6-2 in this 2nd set. Sets an incredibly short jack. Again, illustrating a facet of bowls which I think many new comers to the sport would not really appreciate all that well. It is not only necessary to have perfect command over the bowl, the bias bowl, but it's so desperately important to be able to roll that jack out to exactly the spot that you wanted. I think it's fair to say that nobody does it better than David Bryant. The many messages of good luck that Jeannette has received, the crowd atmosphere tonight, which she knows is there to encourage her, the warmth of this brightly lit television tournament. All of this, I'm sure, getting to her along with the magnificent maestro himself, David Bryant, who has bowled really superb stuff there. Jeanette's still looking to find the rhythm, the line, the length that took her this far in the competition. And still she can't find one that gives her the shot. Oh, well, when you look down at that, as Jeannette Conrad does, you can do nothing but applaud. What do you say about sheer brilliance?
Although the last bowl of David's is an excellent bowl, Jeannette is walking back to the mat with a confident and positive mind. She must now play up to that shot bowl in the hope that she can spring the jack to her own bowls. This bowl will not be short.
On a narrow line, going for the shot bowl. Damage. Well, it's still not totally lost, but it will cause David to come up because the same shot is on again.
I think David will be looking for a positional bowl, and I think particularly he will be hoping to place a bowl in this region so that if Jeannette comes down on the forehand and touches the shot bowl, then he has something at the back to receive it.
Jeannette has just one bowl left. David putting his fourth and final bowl into the head. Thumps it down. Off it goes into the area that Tony Allcock, alongside me here, have predicted so accurately. But I think perhaps he would have liked it a little closer between the two blue bowls than he's actually placed it. The shot is still there to be done. Get a contact on the shot bowl, squirt the jack away to the right as we look at it down there now. And the two blue bowls, one of them at least, might just get it. The forehand shot is the one that she ought to be trying perhaps, but she tries narrow to get the back of the bowl. She's got something anyway. She's taken the shot bowl out, but David Bryant had a second in there. He scores the single that gives him the match. He took the first set 7-0. He takes the second set 7-2. And the gallant efforts of this lovable lady from Scotland, Jeannette Conrad, have ended here in the semi-final. But she's brought a sparkle of interest to lady bowlers all over the country this week. Certainly captured the hearts of the audience here and has given us so much entertainment. But it's David Bryant who goes on to the final.
So as David Bryant takes his place in the final, we say goodbye to Jeannette Conrad, who's really been the star of Super Bowl this week. She didn't do herself any justice out there tonight, but the crowd remembered 3 other occasions when she certainly did, her 3 previous matches. They sent her back to Scotland, a very proud lady indeed. Well, that was one semi-final. The next is a whole lot different. The best of the flat against the best of the crown. The original concept of Super Bowl, of course. It's Willie Wood against Noel Burrows. Now, we're joining it in the first set. Wood's got a 6-4 advantage. The commentators are Jimmy Davidson and Brian Brett.
Again, a fine line. Good weight. Drops it right on the jack. Burroughs again, similar line in. May not quite have the running.
And in these circumstances, with Willie only requiring one shot for the first set, leading 6-4, then Noel Burrows can't be content with second bowls. And if he thinks he needs a second bowl to be able to use the ploy of getting rid of the shot bowl, it's far better if the bowl's behind the head, because he may be forced later in the head to use force.
And that a tactic that will not have escaped Willie Wood. Willie needing to count only one for this first set. It's more running into his bowl. Just tucks in around the back.
And Willie will be very satisfied with that, because already Noel Burrows' own short bowl prevents the all-out strike. Doesn't need to put it too far behind to cover. Noel just using 2 or 3 yards of running, very close.
Well, he's been under pressure from the start, of course, against Wood, who now has a tremendous reputation here. A very popular character with the crowd here in the Northwest.
And in the British Isles and the rest of the world, the current Commonwealth Games champion, runner-up in a very tense final last year for the World Outdoor Championship, and that's the sort of form that produced those titles.
Willie Wood, as we have said before, hasn't quite matched that reputation when he comes indoors. But now with these bowls specially made for Super Bowl, he's doing the stuff. He's got to disturb the head, Jimmy, hasn't he? He's got to try and move something around.
Oh, yes, indeed. He must use weight, and the question is how much weight, because he's got a bowl about a yard behind the jack, but Willie has a bowl further behind. So it makes the shot more difficult having to play with only a limited amount of weight. If he really drives, he's hoping to kill the head altogether.
Yes, he just put a yard of running into his bowl, and he's still got one more to deliver. Looks to have a good line. Well, he's taken that out. He's taken one out. Leaves one, both with one bowl each to play. And Willie Wood wanting one for the first set.
And I would imagine that Willie Wood, knowing Noel Burrows' reputation as a striker, both on the crown and on the flat, will try to draw another shot in case Noel strikes away the shot bowl.
Yes, he wants to get another counter into the head. Needs to get one close.
Well, Noel looked at the backhand as he left the head, and the shot bowl is on the backhand line, and if he can touch the shot bowl onto the jack, he's 2 bowls waiting.
And Burroughs going for it, weight in it, just hoping to catch something. Catches the jack, it's taken it off the ring, dead end. But at least it keeps him alive in this first set. Good forcing shot.
And Noel Burrows' shot that saved the set strikes the jack. Away it careers, such force that it bounces away out of the rink altogether and end dead.
And they go all the way back and start again. With Willie Wood still 6, Noel Burrows 4. And Willie Wood attempting to repeat the treatment, the forehand. He's never been far away from this jack. Now then, has he underplayed the jack?
Last one, the match, Willie. 8 inches.
He may well be short with this jack. It's bringing the officials into the action.
And marker Colin MacDonald calls on the assistant of umpire David Phillips. Looks first of all to see whether the jack is over the 27-yard marker. It isn't, therefore it can't possibly be the minimum 25-yard length. It's returned to Noel Burrows. He can now place the mat where he wishes to, deliver the jack to his preferred length, then Willie plays the first bowl of the end.
And Noel needs no second invitation, pulls the mat forward a few yards, flings the jack further. Could this be the turning point? Willie Wood having to adjust the length. And that's the shot, right over Willie Wood's shoulder. Noel Burrows eager to get onto the mat. The forehand draw again, and the end product, a marvellous bowl right on the jack again. And Burrows, his line seemed to be inside that of Willie Wood's, and cuts across the head. Wood again, afford the extra land. He has the keener woods. Well, counts 2 with that second shot. Needs only 1 for the set.
Better line from Noel. It looks a trifle heavy. In a good position when it comes to rest, though. May figure it at the end of this end.
Yes, may indeed be useful backwood. Depending just where Willie Wood places his next bowls. Polish, get the grip right.
Since the jack is very much exposed, Willie drawing straight into it. It isn't exposed anymore, but what is left may prove to be an inviting target for Noel Burrows, because the head's now very wide, and this man striking is awesome. But like a typical flat green bowler, which of course he is now and has been for some years, he goes up and makes sure he's seen the angles when scoring bowls are close to the jack. He wants to see in which direction the jack's going.
Yes, he applies a lot of concentration, takes his time around the green, and this is something that some of the Crown Green players fail to do. They want to get quickly into their shot, into their stride, because they're used to following a line. And it's not the same line that they have to follow in the flat game, but Burroughs is here with a forcing shot and removes 2, opens the head up, leaves Wood counting 1, but an awful lot of territory now to work in.
The perfect demonstration of the awesome striking ability of Noel Burrows is now opened the head with this beautiful shot. Strikes both scoring bowls, doesn't touch the jack. He's now got a drawing chance to save the set if Willie draws the shot with his bowl.
He may even have the chance, of course, of winning the set, depending where this bowl of Willie Wood's finishes. Oh, it's finishing there again. Now he has to beat this to stay in the first set. The forehand draw very much on. This would to keep Noel Burrows in the first set, in which Wood leads 6-4. It does it. Saved the set.
And a thoroughly deserved roar of approval from the crowd. They know that one of the difficult tasks in bowls is to drive, then draw, and to do both so perfectly deserved that tremendous ovation he got.
Well, Burroughs worked out all the angles, all the possibilities. His third bowl, the strike, opened it up. His fourth bowl, a precision bowl, won it. And Burroughs is in there, kicking, trailing 5-6 in the first set, but now a candidate for prodding up something of a fight. Gets the chance to determine the length. The first crack at the forehand, just through. Just through. Still room for Wood on the forehand. And he has stepped in. Plenty of appreciation for this precision play, so precise in fact, that Burroughs now has to switch to that backhand, takes a new line in. And looks as though he's doing very, very well. Well, a change of hands there by marker Colin MacDonald brings both players and plenty of fun around the arena. Both players up to the head. Well, Willie Wood, a very quick look, and he's on his way back.
And even though he's line shot, he'll want another close, preferably just behind the head.
It certainly looks warm work out there again. So Wood on the forehand. His own Wood already lying there. Nice positional Wood.
Noel Burrows can play backhand confidently again, drawing weight, and if he touches his own short bowl at 2 o'clock from the jack, then he would promote that shot.
So Noel Burrows, who was 3-0 down in the early stages of this first set, then led 4-3, trails 6-5. But he looks to have a good line. Through the gap. Oh, incredible. He can't believe it. Shakes his head.
And at this position, the score position of 6-5, it almost poses more difficulties for the player in the lead, because there are so many possibilities on the way to get 2 shots, and Noel Burrows now is the best two-back bowls, and they could provide them. He's got second shot, and if he can get rid of the shot wood, it makes two. Willie decides to guard against one of the possibilities and cover the two bowls way at the back. Object to split them, and he's done just that.
Yes, all sorts of possibilities for Noel Burrows. He's onto the backhand. Looking to save, ideally for two. No. No, so unlucky. And that sorted out the first set. Just the one that Willie Wood required. After some resistance from Noel Burrows, particularly over the last few ends of the opening set. But Willie Wood, just that one counting shot for a 7-5 first set win.
Well, the second set was much more one-sided. Burroughs drawing superbly when it's 7-1. We rejoin the match at the start of the third set. David Bryant awaiting the winner.
Well, the jack has already gone 30 seconds ago, so Burroughs has had some time to stand on the mat. Has that disturbed him? No. No, just 2 feet through at the back. Willie got a good line, but he's not got into this game for some time. He may well now. Yes, that's good enough. Burroughs again, not quite right. But that is a remarkable second set scoreline for a man who is mainly a crown green bowler against one of the world's top flat men, Jimmy.
He keeps getting these achievements. I've stopped being surprised personally at it. It may be that the wider bowling public would be surprised, but let me tell you, the level green top bowlers know they've got another top flat green bowler in Noel Burrows.
And after this year's Super Bowl, one or two more will be knocking on the door fairly soon. So Willie Wood, trying to find the form that gave him a 7-5 first set win, and trying to find a line and weight. Has he counted two? He's certainly got the shot wood. And a measure for the second. Well, nobody's rushing. The stakes are very high. That's the furthest a crown bowler has ever got in this sort of competition. Burrows. The line is slightly narrower, but there's certainly a road into the jack. If he can just get a rub, and he has.
And now Willie facing a very different head. There was an open forehand draw before, but the shot scoring bowl of Noel Burrows is that bowl there, which will probably mean that Willie would prefer to go on the backhand round his own short bowl.
Well, he's trying to do that, but his line looks narrow. He may just work across, just gone across the head. Not looking quite as happy at the moment, Willie Wood. A lot on his mind. Impeccable leading in the early stages. Just struggling at the moment to get back in. So Burrows is here again. Good line. Good road. Just promotes the shot wood and it falls back again. Unbelievable. Still lies just the one shot at the first end of the third set.
And because Noel lies one only, don't expect any firm tactics from Willie Wood. Can't afford to give shots away if something goes sour. Keep drawing. If anything, a little weight. He's put more on than I expected, hoping to get a split of the front bows. And has. And followed through.
Did well. Certainly counts one. He's happy for one. Oh, he's a relieved man. That's a nice one.
And worth watching that shot again. The group of three bowls top of screen, split by Willie Wood's bowl, gets 3 contacts and finishes sitting beside the jack. All the other 3 bowls still moving, his slowing down, touches the jack. And how about that?
Well, that means it's an end of a losing run of the last 4 ends for Willie Wood. A run like that cost him the second set, but now he leads in the third. 1-0 after they'd taken a set apiece.
It'll be a source of relief to Willie Wood that he's got the jack back, and rather surprisingly, that full length set a different mark. They're now bowling so confidently they'll cope with any length of field, but each prepared to test the other out. Fascinating struggle.
Fascinating indeed. It's shot for shot now. Good length. Very long mark. What an adjustment. The length that Burrows is happy on. The line he likes. Just the weight will decide it. Just pulled up. So Willie hoping that these bowls are going to work in his favour. Yes. Lies 2. Burrows tries the other hand. It's not an easy hand. They've steered clear of it all week. They might get through the gap. Yes, oh yes. Brilliant.
And with both hands partially blocked, at least for the draw, wouldn't be surprised to see Willie use a little weight to try to split through to the jack. He's just played a split very successfully. May be inclined to repeat it.
Well, it's a long way. He's rolling the sleeves up. It looks as though there might be some firepower here. Yes. What a long, long way to fire. He's got 1, 2, 3. Almost cleared the decks, but he's left that jack there.
Looking again at that strike, here it comes in, hits one bowl which hits another itself, still plenty of pace in it, and that bowl 11 o'clock to the jack, remaining close to the jack, everything else miles away.
Well, Burroughs likes the backhand again. quite got his line, but certainly got a good length. Counts 2, the only 2 bowls left on this rink. He's counting, and Willie Wood comes all the way back to face his final bowl, with Burrows still 1 to play.
That strike, having given Willie a clear sight of the jack, is now got to revert to drawing after driving. Very difficult. It's a little tight. Perfect length.
Well, this is now important for the players to have a good look, because if Burrows lies 2 and does, and 1 bowl still to play, picking up a treble here would be very, very valuable.
And the way Noel Burrows has been drawing over these last few ends, I gamble on him to do it.
Well, he trails 1-0, Jimmy, a set apiece. If he can pick up 3 here, that puts him very firmly on the way. Tries the safer forehand. Just wants to keep away from Willie Wood's only bowl. They're calling for it to run on, run on. But did it run on enough? Certainly 2 to Burrows. Willie takes out the first and the second. Burrows thinking about a measure.
2.
Settles for 2. Good 2. The strike really working against Willie Wood in the final count. Noel Burrows getting his nose in front in this 3rd and final set. Slightly shortens the jack. He is not unhappy at playing the forehand at this length, and with a 2-1 lead in the final set, he needs to lead well. Absolute silence. Just through, just a yard through. Not the lead he really wanted. Wood looking for the line, the length that gave him his first set win. It's short. Burrows still lying on with that backwood. Wanting to steer clear of the short bowl of Willie Wood's. Just wants to get round it. No.
And Willie, I'm being told that the bowlers on the forehand are a yard short will know that there's a drawing path around it. Question of getting the right length, because the line's right. Has he enough weight?
Well, he's not got the weight, but what he has done is he's blocking the forehand way in, whether he intended to or not. And Burrows is now on to the backhand. Plenty of room. Looks to be narrow, and the short.
Well, without doubt, the loosest start to any end in this semi-final so far. Willie blocked his own forehand draw, forced onto the backhand. Looks tight again, going into the clump of bowls.
Well, what's this all about, Jimmy? Is this nerves at last? Is it getting at them?
Well, the pressure is tremendous. Noel Burrows line 2 shots. Drawing now on the backhand. Would expect him to draw the shot bowl itself.
But his line wasn't quite right. His length was certainly a bit stronger.
But good enough to count in shot bowl. And although it looks a fairly easy task for Willie Wood in the relation to the bowls he's been playing earlier, it still has to be done.
Well, it has to be done in front of 1,000 bowls enthusiasts. Atmosphere electric. It's not easy. It looks as though he's got a yard either side to work in, but he's got to be precise.
Looks good. Straight on the button.
It'll do. Good winner. So Willie Wood counts, and we're all square again. A centerpiece. So a set a piece, 2-2, all square. You couldn't pick a winner. Willie Wood, off on the forehand. Likes the forehand, has got a good line. Has good weight. Oh yes.
And Noel playing the forehand, although he fully realizes that that bowl is in the drawing line. First priority, get a good second shot. And he's done just that.
Last ball, Jack, hey?
Yes.
No danger for Willie. He can afford to stay on that forehand. Looking a shade narrow as it cuts across, but it still counts. Now there's daylight, a good 2.
And it looks a very inviting target to Noel Burrows' drive.
Well, it's a fair old target if Burroughs wants to put some weight in. Just had a little bit of running weight in it as he's gone for the backhand open, just to disturb the head. Take the jack. Did well.
Beautifully controlled weight. Deserved to finish nearer the jack. Spun away from his bowl as it ran through. Look again at this shot. Drawing with weight into the gap. Gets a perfect contact on the jack, but splits slightly. The jack goes straight forward. He goes off to one side, continues bending. Now line shot about 2 feet 6 from the jack.
And those 2 feet 6 are the ones that Willie Wood is aiming to get into with somewhat good bowl.
And Noel Burrows switching to the forehand that he prefers, and a good drawing line inside his own short bowl. Is he enough weight?
He's tightening, running. Just given up. It's certainly saved. It's down to 1. So Willie Wood holding 1 shot for a possible crucial 3-2 lead in the 3rd set of this, the Liverpool Victoria Insurance Super Bowl semi-final.
Willie, confident that his bowls will work on both hands, switches to the forehand, trying that inviting drawing line that Noel Burrows tried to get. As he reached the head this time.
Not quite. Burrows with still the final bowl to bowl. To bowl in this, the fourth end of the third set.
And although the bowls are so close to the jack, still room on the forehand for Noel Burrows to draw, and within his immense drawing ability.
Well, he's got more into the strength. Has he got the line? Will it work enough? No. So, a single to Willie Wood. That's enough. It puts him into a useful lead. Willie Wood, 3-2. Able to dictate the length of the jack. Keeps the mat well back. Just looking to settle again onto a consistent length, 3-2. Final set.
Okay.
Good line. Just come through. Well, there's some scattered applause, but Burroughs will not be unhappy. He's got to put one right up there now. And has. Willie looking to take a yard out. Trying very hard. Excellent. Just rubs the jack. Burrows switches. Has to disturb the jack.
And his reason for switching to the backhand was that if he makes a contact with the jack in the position of bowls as they lay, he now has two bowls on the left of the screen in the receiving position. Forehand weight would force the jack the other way. It's therefore natural that Willie plays the forehand. We'll play right up to it. We'll want to turn the screw on Noel.
Well, that certainly has now blocked the backhand way to a great extent, Jimmy.
And has secured a second shot for Willie Wood.
Counts 2, leads 3-2. Makes it difficult for Burroughs. To put some strength into this one. A little bit of running power. Might get a cannon in off something.
It's close. He's got
Yes! Whoa! 2 touches. Whoa! Well, a brilliant wood it may have been, Jimmy, but there is a very inviting target.
Certainly worth having a look at again. The drawing line blocked by the red bowl is passing now. Gets absolutely the right contact. Squeezes the jack across to his own waiting bowl. Forces out Willie's bowl. And isn't that a lovely picture for Noel Burrows?
A smashing picture for Burroughs, and it presents quite a nice target for Willie Wood to have a go at. He looks wide. Left 2, left 2, and with Burrows still to play His final bowl.
And happy that he can use his forehand draw with absolute safety. No danger whatsoever. Nothing can go wrong. Might even be line 3 shots. If he were line 3, this would place him within 1 shot of the Super Bowl 85 final. The marker not sure is indicated 2 and a measure. Noel will wait until the crowd settle, assisted by a few shushes from the more discerning in the crowd.
On his way, no danger. The tendency is to be short in this sort of situation because you're overcautious, and that's exactly what it is. So how many? Certainly 2. It's 2. Two of the finest points to Noel Burrows you can imagine. Takes him into the lead again in this 3rd set. Gives him the jack. Noel Burrows from the Crown green game. 4. Willie Wood, the Scottish flat green ace. 3. Final set.
And a fascinating seesaw struggle in this final set. The scores from Noel Burrows' view as it's proceeded is 0-1, 2-1, 2 each, 2-3, 4-3.
Looking for a good lead. Well, it finally dropped shorter than he wanted. 2 feet off the jack. And Willie Wood with enough room to get round. His bowl is pulling across, nicely weighted. Excellent. Good reply. Burrows again, the forehand. Got a good sighter. Let's get round his own short wood. Is he going to get there? He's made it. He's made it. Counts 1.
That really was a touch of class. Drawing round a short bowl to beat a close bowl, not much room, does it absolutely perfectly in this pressure situation.
And the way in now on the forehand is that much more difficult. Burrows with the 2 woods in the forehand draw. Willie Wood with the back wood lying second. Thinks about the backhand, tries the backhand. Got a good line, but needs some work now. Just the length will let him down. So Burrows, 4-3 ahead, lying with the shot bowl. Getting closer and closer to a crown green man in the final of this £26,000 competition. He's on the backhand. He's happy with the forehand. Has he got the weight? No.
That happens so very often in bowls. Changing the hand means changing the weight, and it's a test of a bowler's ability to read the weight of a green, whether he can come off saying which hand is the heavier.
Willie Wood again, backhand. He's given that a lot to do. Well, he's given it far too much to do, but he still has 1 bowl to play.
And in playing the backhand, it will be in Noel Burrows' mind that if he uses the Goal of Willie Wood just behind the jack is a drawing target. He could make a second. Looks slightly wide for it.
Just seemed to hold up there, Jimmy. Well, Burrows still lying shot. Wood with this final bowl still to play. Trails 4-3. Certainly doesn't want to let it become 5-3.
And Willie Wood had weight with his previous bowl, so his good back position. If you can touch the jack, looks to be a drawing weight.
Well, looks to be a better line unless it holds up again. Now it's coming.
Could be shot.
I think he's got it. He's got it. 1 to Willie Wood. Wood keeps the mat well back. How far will he go? How far dare he go?
And both bowlers now need 3 shots to win this match. But the fact is that on this long, hard struggle, neither bowler has scored more than a 2. All shots scored 1s and 2s.
Yes, Burroughs has had the chance to go for 3 or even 4, but has missed it, but that's a good lead. That's the shot you're happy with when you're 4-4 in the final set. Burroughs got a good line, an extremely good line. May well just have stopped half an inch short. Yes, Wood still on. But it's certainly a bowl. It's there to be promoted.
Noel Burrows will be reasonably well pleased. Hasn't got the shot, of course, but in this tight situation, he's established the good second. Less chance of getting a count against him.
You can feel the tension, the silence as the wood is delivered, and as it arrives, the noise starts to build, particularly if it's a good wood. That's going to be just short.
And Noel Burrows has a shot on either end now. There's still room for the 4-handy favours. If he's forced to the backhand, there's a nice receiving split between the shot bowl and his own.
Looking for the backhand, looking to rest out the counting shot wood belonging to Willie Wood, and going for it, and going for the jack. Got it! Got it! For 2. Well, you can't argue with that sort of play. That is superb.
Indeed it was. Played on the hand that we've been saying is difficult all week, and played to perfection. And worth certainly having a look at again. Changed his hand to play the backhand, brushed his own bowl, brushed the shot bowl, touched the jack, 2-0.
2-0, indeed. And if it were to stay like that, it would move him into a 6-4 lead. But Willie again on the backhand, looking to repeat the Burroughs treatment. It's going to pull up, going to pull up. I'm not sure that he's even saved. There's only about an inch in it, certainly. 1 to Burroughs, 1 and a measure. 1 to Burroughs, a measure for 2.
Well, from this angle, I would think Noel Burrows maybe 2 shots. He hasn't come up to have a look. but played a beautiful shot on the backhand, so choosing that hand again.
And choosing that hand with weight that's not quite right.
And made things difficult for Willie Wood with the position of that bowl. The bowl that Noel Burrows has just played is that one, and Willie has to draw inside it if he's decided to draw to the jack. I'd expect him to put a wee bit of running in.
The head is developing very nicely for Burrows. There's all sorts of possibilities. He's changed the hand. And it's difficult to see a way in.
The test of these wide drawing bowls of his, because he's taken a lot of land. Here he comes swinging in, but not far enough.
Not
Maybe
enough.
second if it drops.
I don't think it's quite in the count. It's certainly one to Burrows.
The mark had just
David then bowling to a very tight head. It was a good try. That's a good second into the head, and it will need another very, very special bowl from Noel Burrows to improve on his situation. There's certainly room to get in there.
Yes, Noel draw to the jack because he could be vulnerable if he doesn't get another in the head.
No, it stayed out. Didn't quite find the same line as the brilliant shot bowl.
And David Bryant, looking at the head, I'm sure he's got in mind the fact that there's the jack. It's not a shot to play as a gentle trail because Noel's just protected it, but the bowl there of Noel Burrows with the red disc, if it was struck, it would remove, David's own bowl with the red disc, might force out Noel Burrows' scoring disc shot with the blue disc.
David Bryant, one of the great tactical masters of the game. Well, that's what he's after. Well, he managed to edge one of his own further forward. But one shot it is to Noel Burrows. And to resounding applause from a packed audience here in Stage 1 in Manchester. Something around 1,000 spectators crammed in, and hundreds more outside who couldn't get in. Tickets were passing hands rather like Wembley Cup final tickets for this final. So much interest, so much excitement about it. The betting before the first check was put up. David Bryant 2-1 on to win the match, and Noel Burrows 6-4 against. And when you remember that when the competition started, you could get 12-1 against Noel Burrows winning. You can see how the money's been coming in, responding to the brilliant bowling that Noel Burrows has put together in this competition. David trickles one in right onto the kitty. He's about 4 to 5 inches away from it. could be a little bit vulnerable there, in a position that Noel Burrows can rest on it and drop back and take the shot. Had the right weight to do just that, but the line just fractionally wrong. David could get a second into the head then, and that's clearly what he was after. So, Noel Burrows. And that's going to trickle behind again. I think Noel will be a little unhappy that he didn't find a better line. And David is now going to get that second bowl in. So David now holding 2. And time, of course, for Noel Burrows very wisely to come up here and have a look at things. So much at stake, of course, in this competition.
And Noel, when he examines the head, will see that his 2 blue disc bowls there are in a receiving position if the Jockeys trail along that line to about that sort of area.
But Noel has been unable to get the line right with 3 previous bowls. Now's the time for a total correction. It's looking better. It's looking very good indeed. And he's got it. Wonderful ball. Under a lot of pressure. He was 2 down. He switched it and is now holding shot. And I'm sure this is the sort of pattern of the match that we're going to see. So much at stake, so much prestige in it for both these men. For David to retain his Super Bowl title, for Noel Burrows to be a crown bowler that has beaten the Maestro. And of course, there's 10,000 quid for the winner. David then, shot against him. Coming backhand. Tricky backhand that the bowlers have not liked this week at all. And there again, David acknowledges an excellent bowl from Noel Burrows. And Noel scores on 2 consecutive ends and takes a 2-0 lead. It was a fine piece of correction that Noel finally pulled off to trickle that shot in, Jimmy Davidson.
Indeed so. He finished up playing the draw rather than the trail, and that was the more exacting shot. Rested the bowl. David, going to the backhand, was forced to do so by the back position of Noel Burrows.
So a 2-0 lead for Noel Burrows. Brian Brett, Noel Burrows will be feeling very pleased with the way these bowls are working for him.
Well, these are the bowls, Hugh, that he bought specially to play on the Super Bowl rink, and they're working well.
David Bryant putting some fairly elderly bowls on this green, Jimmy Davidson, of which you have some knowledge.
Yes, they're 27 years old, Hugh, about the same age as myself.
Oh, a bit more than that, Jimmy, because these are actually your bowls, aren't they?
Indeed they are.
How did it come about that David decided to use them?
Well, David thinks all the time about which are the best bowls for a rink. In every event he plays in, and he tries to find the bowl to match the rink, and he thought from his memory bank that mine would be just about right.
It's very fortunate that you were here, both in your capacity as England coach and my co-commentator here. That one didn't drop in for him. So at the moment, the sort of bought special bowls of Noel Burrows are the ones doing the business down there. So, Noel, who's certainly become a thinking man in this flat game. I don't think there's ever been any doubt at all that crown bowlers and considered they could actually bowl Bryant. It was just a matter of tactical thinking.
Yes, it's the tactical awareness that they needed to acquire, and they've gone about those last 12 months and done this stuff. Quite a lot of them are members of indoor flat clubs at the moment.
Well, David's had a really good look down there. Made up his mind what he's going to do. This, curious enough, the first English flat Englishman, or the third Englishman crown bowler that he's played against. Mick Robinson he took out, Norman Fletcher he took out from crown, then a Scotsman, Jim Boyle, and a Scots lady, Jeannette Conrad. Well, David seems to have sorted that out very, very well indeed. A small glimpse of the master craftsman, man who has been winning and winning and winning. Noel Burrows has beaten Irishman Rodney McCutcheon, Welsh lady Julie Davis, took out two Scots persons in Frank McCartney and Willie Wood, and is in fact now playing his first Englishman in the competition.
Interesting, Hugh, that in fact Burroughs has had to beat 4 flat players already to get here.
Yes, and David, 2 crown and 2 flat. And of course, Noel has taken out some very fine bowlers, not the least of them in the semi-final. The current Commonwealth Games singles champion, that great Scotsman, Willie Wood. David looking as though he's trying to get out the second ball. I think he was after that blue ball to try and knock it out of the head. He scores a single, and the holder of the Super Bowl trophy, David Bryant, is on the board at last.
Yes, David will feel much better about that. The final of Super Bowl 85 continues in a few minutes. Welcome back. It's changed a wee bit. At the point we rejoin the match, David Bryant's out in front, 6-3.
Yes, there's a good opening roll. Almost bang on a line, and about 6 to 8 inches behind the jack. Noel too has a good line, and seems to have a pretty good length too. Might be in by half an inch, I wonder. Just about.
How far short? Blue. 7 inches. Okay.
And on hearing from the marker that the shot bowl is 7 inches from the jack, David immediately knows whether it's possible to draw around the short bowl.
And Noel Burrows says, thank you very much, David. A little tickle from the rear, and the blue bowl drops over, and where it was some 7 inches from the jack, it's now, what, 4 inches? Noel says 5 inches to marker John Bell. And whether it's 5 or 4, it's definitely shot. And Noel needs to hold this position now and perhaps even improve on it. David Bryant looking for just one counting bowl on this end. And Noel very, very wisely making sure he's got a back bowl. Because David Bryant is one of the best attacking bowlers in the world, not only one of the great tacticians, but his strike is known all around the world. He's not going to let one go at this moment. He's still certain that he could draw the jack or take the shot bowl out. Well, that's interesting. That really hasn't done too much, I would suggest, Jimmy. He isn't best back bowl. He hasn't got in tight on the jack. If he does strike now and the jack goes into the ditch, he may very well give shots away anyway.
Well, a strike into the ditch now is the last thing that you would hope would happen, because last thing he'd hope that he had to play. Noel now playing, difficult head for him to bowl to, has to protect the shot bowl by getting another bowl in the head. Looks good, looks very good. Second bowl.
An important bowl, that. David was in a position before that he could, in fact, strike the shot bowl out, the bowl short of the jack, and still leave his 2 counters in there. But now the situation is very different. Noel still has an extra one if one goes. He's got one in reserve.
And David, examining the head very carefully, has most possibilities on the backhand, a straight draw to the jack or turning over his own bowl, or if he gets the jack, he's got a bowl waiting about 2'6" behind the jack.
Or whatever David does with this bowl, Noel Burrows still has one to play. With some weight. Trying to push to nick his own bowl in. Trying to get a whack on the outside of it, which would have shoved it into the head and take the shot, but he just slid by. So Noel holding 2, and if he can deliver another one with great delicacy on the forehand, just between his 2 shot bowls, he could pick up 3 here.
Delicate draw required, but he'll not flinch. I'm sure he'll have the courage to try it. Looks a good line.
It's coming very well. Go on, go on, go on. No, it just bent away too early. The line was wrong by only about 10 inches. And he takes a 2 instead of the 3 that he might have deserved with that last bowl, with just the tiniest difference in line approach. But more importantly, Noel Burrows has stopped the little shot-producing run of David Bryant, who went from 3-2 down to 6-3 up with a 1, a 3, and a 1, and was setting the length, setting the tempo of the game. Now Noel has not only scored a couple of shots, but he's, perhaps more importantly from his point of view, he has the opportunity to set the pattern. He decides where the mat goes, he decides where the jack goes. What he wants now is his first bowl bang on the kitty. Not a bad one at all.
And to the short jack that people were predicting might be his downfall if David kept his short jack tactics and bowled as well as he had done to that length in previous rounds. David now with his first bowl.
If Noel is taking David on at his own game, as it were. And David hasn't got it right. And now, of course, Noel will be feeling very cock-a-hoop. If he can get 2 more, and he got 2 in the last end, if he can get 2 more on this one, he'll win the first set. He's put another one in, another pressure bowl. A toucher in front. He's got a toucher in front of the jack. He's got a very good second just behind.
2 inches.
And it may well be that David will need to dislodge the jack from the shot bowl with this bowl to give himself a better chance for his 3rd and 4th.
Well, he's certainly got to change the situation because he's set down. His bowl hung out. Tropple's back. May just be second. May just be second. Yes, we can see from overhead now the count cut down to Noel Burrows holding just 1.
And David, by drawing second shot, has changed the tactics for Noel Burrows, and Noel now, where he might have been looking for protection for 2 shots, has to find a way to get another scoring shot.
A little unlucky there, hitting the outside of the red ball. If he'd hit the inside of it, he'd have nicked across onto the jack. But such is the delicacy and the accuracy required in this marvellous game of bowls that from 25, 28 yards away, 29 yards away, if you're half an inch wrong, it's the difference between success and failure. It's trickling, but it won't trickle far enough. It's made it a wee bit dangerous for Noel. And I think he's aware that perhaps, Jimmy, that if that shot ball is struck and the jack moves,
the bowl he was looking at particularly was that bowl there of David Bryant's. That's the one he needs to protect against in case there's a strike.
No, he's bravely trying to get a second in there and lay 2, and he's got it. Right.
And in doing so, he's very unlucky because he's broadened the target. Crowd applauding that marvellous bowl of David Bryant's. David, I think, now will strike.
Well, we're absolutely certain now what the next shot is. And everybody in this arena is buzzing with anticipation. The silence, the stand-up stance, the sighting, confirmation, and everybody says, yes, I told you so. David waits for them to quieten down again. The set's against him. Here's the firing shot. It's on its way. It's certainly going to hit something. The jack's out of bounds. It's a dead end. There's nothing left out there. And now it's the bowlers to decide where they'll restart that end. So what had built up into a glorious set-winning head for Noel Burrows, with at least 2 magnificent deliveries, all ends with one fell swoop, the driving right hand of David Bryant. Let's go back and look at that strike again.
This is David Bryant's strike at the target of 2 bowls, hits both, hits his own, the backwood, bounces in the air, steeple chases over the bowl and out of the ring.
So Noel has to start off all over again. The score, David Bryant 6, Noel Burrows 5. I wonder, Brett, whether any feeling of despondency comes over Noel Burrows to have been in that position and had it taken away from him.
Well, I'm sure it's giving him something to think about. The danger playing David Bryant is that you can't put him too close. And then again, we did see earlier this week the ferocious firing of Norman Fletcher, which rather rattled David Bryant for a spell.
And of course, Noel Burrows is well experienced to having his bowls struck off in the Crown game as well.
If you see the state of the woods that Noel Burrows uses in the Crown game, you'll see there are chunks out all over the place.
But Noel happily grasps that beautiful bowl in his hand. He's holding one up in the head. He's hoping that this will find the same sort of line and make it 2, but he hasn't. The weight wasn't bad. Line just a tiny bit wayward. David desperately eager to get one right in on the kitty. No. That's bent away. So Noel. Heavy. Possibly knocked one in. David gets information from marker John Bell.
2 in a measure? Yes.
And having heard that information from marker John Bell, he goes up to have a look at himself. The marker, we always have to emphasize this, the marker, most experienced marker, John Bell, former chairman of the English Bowls Umpires Association. But in his position as marker of this match, he gives information to the bowlers as they requested. In addition, though, he holds up the little lollipop sticks to indicate to the audience what he thinks. We do have to emphasize what he thinks the situation is, whether it's 1 shot to red, 2 shots to blue, or whatever. But it is only his opinion. The end of the head, when all 8 bowls have been delivered, it's the bowlers who decide how many shots are being scored. David, having been up there, knows from his own eyesight that he's 2 down. Oh, and he's wasted it. He has wasted that bowl. And Noel Burrows, I'm sure, like most of the audience here, cannot believe that. The 3 bowls to the left of the jack as we look at it belong to Noel Burrows. At least 2 of them are counting, maybe the 3rd is. And Noel very wisely gets one round the back. And David Bryant faces a set losing situation with 1 bowl to deliver. Now, does he strike this, Jimmy, or does he desperately try and find the 1 bowl that changes it on a draw?
Well, if he tries to draw, he must bear in mind the wide swing of those bowls, the mine, and I know that they do cut across if he misses the line on the narrow side.
He's having a bang again. There were 2 shots against him in the very last end. And he killed the end, fired the jack out of bounds. He's got to get hold of it again now, or he loses the first set. He's just, well, he got a touch. The jack didn't go. It actually confirmed positively that it's 2 shots to Noel Burrows. And he has come very, very good from 5-3 down in this first set to win the first set against David Bryant, 7-6.
The player's view is fascinating. Tony Allcock, that was really very intense, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very interesting that Noel has adapted the tactics that David's been using all week, the short jack, and certainly he played to it very well and left David into instant trouble. I feel that David's drive, particularly on the last penultimate end, was very good to get him out of a losing position. I think David's now wondering what he's going to be doing to get back into this game, and losing the first set in any match is pretty vital.
We shall see. Thanks, Tony.
Okay.
Well, it's time we took another break. We'll be back. There have been some interesting developments here at stage 1. Noel Burrows took a 2-sets lead, 7-5 in the second set. Now, Bryant hit back, whitewashed him in the third, 7-0. So it's 2-1. Here's the 4th set. Second end, Burrows leading 1-0.
Now he's 1-0 up in the 4th. And 2-1 in front in sets. I think applause of encouragement rather than appreciation with that delivery. He would dearly have loved to have it another 18 inches closer to the jack. Something like that. Spectator's eye view of the bowl that Noel Burrows is delivering. David, backhand draw. Both these bowlers coming from bowling families, Brian. I see Noel's father was a Lancashire merit winner at one time.
That's right. He was also the president of Manchester for the Manchester Association for a long time, as Noel got one on the mark.
Well, now that is a remarkable bowl, because suddenly it switched from 1 down to 3 up to Noel Burrows. And David is after the shot bowl or the shot, one or the other. He doesn't mind which. And he gets both. And from 3 down on this end, David Bryant goes 3 up. What a remarkable turnaround in 2 deliveries. And that the great fascination of the game of bowls, both crown and flat, Brian.
Yes, and it really puts the pressure onto Burroughs, because I'm sure he felt that he'd done everything. He'd tried to read the line with his first one on the backhand, got it right with his second, and is now trying again with his third just to stop a heavy count against him.
Yes, well, he certainly cut the count down. He's nicked one off it. But nevertheless, the draw pretty open. And I would hazard a guess, Jimmy Davidson, that David ought to feel confident that he can drop a third in here.
He'd regard it as 1 for nothing. Kick himself if he can't do it.
Well, it's very narrow. And you know it's not going to arrive. And he cannot believe that, Jimmy Davidson. Well, that was a loose one, surely.
He slapped his hands and threw his head back and made some sort of exclamation. That was a collector's piece. You don't often see David Bryant failing with that sort of opportunity.
No, everything there, easy to be done. So, in fact, he only scores 2 instead of what should have been a gift of 3. And he takes a lead of 2-1 here in the 4th set. Noel Burrows still leading 2 sets to 1. He won the first 7-6, the second 7-5 for Bryant to hit back and take the third at 7-0. Talking just now about Noel Burrows coming from a bowling family. Of course, that's true of David Bryant as well. His dad, Reg, was an indoor international, and his grandfather, Bill, a Somerset County player. So there's a great history of tradition of bowling in the backgrounds of both David Bryant and this man, Noel Burrows.
Had the pleasure of playing against Reg Bryant, David's late international father, and he was a gentleman and a great bowler like David himself.
No, good line. Needs about 18 inches more on travel. With his second bowl, his first one is holding the shot. Here's David's second bowl in. Just pulled up short. And it's not really in the forehand draw, so Noel can come there again with a great deal of confidence. Well, the line is very, very good. A little bit short on motive power. Certainly some signs now, Brian, that the effects of the 7-0 defeat in the last set had been thrown off?
Yes, getting it out of his system, looking for a consistent line and length that's just escaped him, but you look back through this game and Noel Burrows has rarely won 2 successive ends, in fact. I think he's only done it on 2 occasions, and that's despite going into a 2-1 lead. They're prowling around down there, and we were talking about inspecting the head and the fact that crown bowlers don't do it. And part of the reason that they don't do it is in playing singles, you've probably got 4 games on a green at the same time with the woods crisscrossing that green, and it really would need a fair bit of dancing to one side to get out of the way, so they don't inspect the head that often.
And of course it is so essential in this flat game always to be aware of the exact geography. David, too sure whether he was trying to promote a bowl then or not. Shakes his head with a little anger with himself. No, I think Noel will try and draw round his second bowl. As he's drawn round it, as he dropped back in, I don't think he has somehow. I think he's still just counting 1. Well, the crowd's reaction is that it's probably 2. David Bryant has seen the situation for himself, gone back up. His final delivery here. He's trying the same shot again, and he's got it wrong a second time.
Surprising choice of shot by David. What I think he was trying to do was to contact any of the short bowls and follow through, because the lines to the jack were blocked, but he could have drawn on the backhand if he'd fancied his chances of doing so. But with 4 short bowls, any of them a contact, a full contact, he could have followed through.
So Noel, who might just believe he's holding 2 here, has a free bowl to try and make it 3. And I would think he's got it. Oh, no. On the other hand, the blue bowl falling down on its side, I think almost certainly guarantees that he's got 2. 1, 2. Now it's for Noel to decide, and yes, he thinks it's worth a measure. And with your experience of Noel Burrows, Brian, how would you bet it?
Well, I'm not sure that I would bet it, Hugh, apart from if it was your money, because I think what he's doing is a very clever piece of tactical play, and I think he's calling for a sort of time-out. He just wants a little breather. The longer this game goes, the more difficult it'll become for Burroughs. We are not used to playing this length of time without a break.
Well, I do believe you're absolutely right. The measure is time. Allow Noel to have a little break, and he's got 2 shots out of it. And he takes a 3-2 lead in this 4th set. Takes him within shooting distance of the match. If he can possibly find 4 shots on one end, he'd win the match. The £10,000 top prize the Liverpool Victoria Insurance Super Bowl trophy and the adulation of every crown green bowler in the country.
And in fact, that would give the crown green another impetus, because we are already moving in the traditional crown green areas into a situation, as Burrows leads well, where many more of these indoor flat centres are being opened, and there are more to come in the next year. And who knows, with another 12 months experience behind them, the crown bowlers are going to improve enormously.
Well, I think that's been seen in this competition, Jimmy Davidson, as national coach. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Very much agree with it. The standard will climb very fast indeed. David just drawn the shot.
The crowd like that one. May have improved on his first one by an inch or two, but no more.
How far is my shot ball behind the jack?
David Bryant is still holding shot.
12 inches.
And Noel's front bowl, his last bowl?
About 18 inches.
Interesting inquiry by David Bryant then. He didn't ask how far is my bowl behind the jack. He asked how far is my shot bowl behind the jack. Sort of underlining things, Jimmy. He's only got one bowl
Indeed,
on the mat.
Indeed, Hugh. Gamesmanship, no. Psyching, no. But he heard it.
Just letting Noel Burrows know that, and letting the audience be quite aware that David Bryant is holding shot here. David trying to sort out how he can get two out of it. Do you think, Jimmy Davidson, that he's feeling a little happier, David Bryant, now with the bowls that he borrowed from you?
Whereas in the previous tie, he played with them absolutely superbly. On this occasion, he's had to play more running bowls of 2 to 3 yards, and that's more difficult. And if you don't know your own bowls precisely, it makes it that bit more difficult. So even the great man had a problem to overcome. And this time he's gone narrow, turned over Noel Burrows' bow.
So, David Bryant, who was just inquiring about his shot bowl at the back, now finds that he's promoted Noel Burrows to the shot bowl.
Yes, I feel Burrows here coming back to the mat would now be entitled to shout at to marker John Bell, how far is my shot wood off the jack?
Well, we can see it there, and it's about 6 or 8 inches. But still the backhand draw open, Jimmy?
Indeed, yes, and so open that Null, having been to the head, will have seen that the bowl at bottom of the picture belonged to David Bryant, could make that his drawing target to score and to protect.
Backhanded he does go. The more difficult track here at stage 1. Well, I think we give him the benefit of the doubt there and say that he actually tried to drop it in the draw and not go and cover the back bowl. It's certainly a little bit more difficult now for David to come in with a swing on the backhand. And he can still come with a bit of weight inside that bowl. And it is inside that he's trying for. Might get a wick off something. He does. Perfectly judged. So perfectly that he now holds 2. And the same shot is not there for Noel Burrows. He certainly ought to think in terms of giving this head a battering now. I think he's got the best back bowl. The blue bowl away to the right at the back. Bowling with just a little extra running. He's bang on target. He's got them both. And I think he's left himself in. Yes, he has. Really an outstanding goal, Brian, that one.
It was a fairly typical crown green tactic. It's the woods, the way they can turn the peg over, as we call it, and try and balance out the land, go straight for it, just put a bit of running in. It's a delivery they've not been able to play here because, of course, we're on a flat rink and there's nothing really to cancel out, so it's all a question of pegging and bias. But he put some running in that. His awareness of situations is now so keen.
There's no doubt that David Bryant is very well aware that he's up against a very, very worthy adversary. David, who's won his big prizes all over the world, counts this Super Bowl as one of his treasured trophies, the one he won here last year in that epic final against John Bell. He really does want to retain it. He's going to have to fight very hard to do so. Nope. Neither one thing nor the other. And Noel Burrows picks up another single. Eases himself another step towards the winning of the fourth set, which would give him the whole match. He's now in front 4-2 and 2 sets to 1. So a cheeky roll of Jack then. Didn't even need centering. You can look now at the bowl as it travels, the sort of bowler's eye view of it. On the forehand, out to the right. Now the bias takes over, swings it in. Trickle, 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 trickle. Not too far away. David on the same line. Just about got the legs to creep past. And all the signs here of something big building up, Brian Brett.
Something big indeed, and with Burrows at 4-2 and Bryant responding with that sort of bowl, the pressure's just swinging from one to the other. They set them up, they take them out. Burrows wondering whether he's got to come on the other hand. He doesn't want to promote Bryant's wood any further.
David exchanging pleasantries with marker John Bell while Noel Burrows sends his bowl down the backhand track. It's not a bad bowl. It's tight to the head. David sticking to the forehand draw. Yes, a beautiful bowl. And players up at the players' round look round to each other and say, isn't that a cracker? There's a sort of determination about Noel Burrows' face here. Yard of running, he's after the shot bowl. He's got it. Oh, what a superb delivery. The excited faces of this audience of some 1,000-odd people here. Excited
No
about
change
that
into the
delivery.
backhand. Squeezing the jack. He knew the bow was waiting. Runs through. Was indeed a shade unlucky that the jack towelled so far. Goes further on an indoor surface as opposed to an outdoor. David about 2 feet 6 to draw the jack, but has to change his hand to backhand.
And this a hand that he hasn't found with any real confidence. That's looking good, though. That's the one. And in his excitement, Marco-John Bell carried away by things and held up the wrong shot color indicator. Noel now. Can he bowl out the shot bowl, or can he steal the shot back? It's going to be short. Not going to get there. And once again, David Bryant finds himself with a shot to nothing here. Anything within 18 inches. Ditch side of the jack, or anywhere around the jack, will give him a second. His audience enthralled with the high quality bowling that David Bryant is now showing as he fights to keep a grip on the title that he won last year. Yes, 2. And he's leveled up this 4th set at 4-4. Another illustration of the tenacity of the great David Bryant. That he always is there, always keeps pegging away.
Indeed, his approach is to play the game one end at a time, not be too worried by what's gone before. Easy to say, difficult to do.
Brian, David has written a great deal about the game. How much of that would Noel have taken notice of?
I can tell you that the Bryant books and his articles are read with great interest by the leading Crown Green players. Arthur Murray, who last year was buried by Bryant in Superbowl, for instance, reads every word, takes it all in. I've just had a preview copy of the new Bryant book, and I thought it was an extremely valuable contribution for players from both codes.
Well, David, having got the mat back in his possession, has set just about a full-length jack, asking Noel Burrows, what do you know about this distance? And he seems to know it pretty well. Well, that'll do for starters. Both players very much aware that they cannot allow their opponent to get a big count in an end now. Score is tied at 4-4. Good bowl. Noel really pushing that one out. Got a long way to travel. It's cut narrow. Noel bowling very well to a new distance, a long jack. The shot is still against him. Noel marching back. David Bryant staying up there. Markers, there's Tony Poole in the players' lounge. The red shirt at the back there, looking down at Noel. Tony, who is a player, Brian, that has already begun to show great signs in this flat game.
Yes, and we thought that the sort of length of jack that's played in the crown or the flat game would be ideally suited to the Poole temperament.
Brilliant ball. Massive applause for an absolutely superb delivery then by Noel Burrows. So what thoughts go through David's Bryant mind, Jimmy?
Well, he's looking at the head very carefully, because although his shot's against him, he was 1, possibly 2, possibly 3. In which case, if you can find a way of getting rid of the scoring bowl of David Bryant, of Noel Burrows, which is the blue disc bowl there, then he could conceivably make a count for himself. But he's also got to be very mindful that Noel's within 3 shots of winning the match and mustn't do anything too dangerous.
So after discussing it amongst themselves, the audience here settle down to see what David Bryant has sorted out for himself. He's got the shot bowl. They've not moved it back far enough. Noel Burrows is still holding one, and he has a bowl to come. Be interesting to see how unlucky David was there, Jimmy.
Yes, hit the target bowl, got it on the right side of the bowl. If it had missed the bowl behind, he was in business. Instead, he was still 1 down. Very unlucky.
So Noel has an opportunity of picking up another one here. In fact, he might even believe that he could do better than that. Well, he's certainly got 2. No question of that at all. Has he got 3? If he has, he's won Super Bowl. Let's see. It's a measure for 3. Well, Brian, what a point we've got to.
I can't believe it. Nobody can believe it. We're on a measure to decide the game in which a crown green bowler could come through and beat the greatest flat green bowler ever. all on a measure. Needs a steady hand now. Superb final bowl played there by Burrows. If anybody had any doubts about this man's class, then my goodness, they haven't now.
So they place the chocks and wedges in under the bowls, so that if there's any slight tremor as the measure goes in. I wonder what they're betting up in the players' lounge, those players who have come and stayed on here for the final. There could be £10,000 resting on a measurement of a fraction of an inch. No! David Bryant heaves a great sigh of relief. It was just 2, but now Noel Burrows is within 1 shot of pulling off one of the great upsets of all time of any kind of bowls anywhere, certainly in the great game of indoor bowls. It's a question now, Brian Brett, of Noel, who you know well, just keeping his nerve. Yes?
Yes, he'll be on a high, but he's been on a high for a lot of these years, and there's Susan, Noel Burrows' wife. She can't bear to look at it all. Oh, it's too much.
It will easily be the biggest prize that crown bowler Noel Burrows has ever won. And he has led out to this, what he believes to be the last jack, with total confidence.
7 inches short. 7 inches short.
7?
7 inches.
Amongst Noel's massive background of wins, the great ones, the All England, the Waterloo, the Champion of Champions, all these he will treasure. But this, if he pulls it off, will be his greatest triumph. Oh, what a bowl under pressure from David Bryant. That young man will be encouraged by this sort of performance to take up the great game of bowls. He's coming well. He's really coming magnificently well. Deserved a little better, but he's opened the head up. He's nicked the shot bowl away. But as much as anything has opened up the forehand track again. David Bryant shakes his head and says, "Would you?" And I can't believe this. I keep dropping them in there, and he keeps knocking them out, doesn't he, Jimmy?
And yes, and here comes the bowl. Gets a fairly thick contact. Desperately unlucky that he didn't move it further.
Well, these two marvellous bowlers did in fact play an exhibition match at Darlington a few years ago, and Noel won that one, I think I'm right in saying, Brian, but David at the time said it was exhibition, it wasn't really for real.
Well, Noel will consider it to be real, I'll tell you, because he won that, and we've had some real thrills, haven't we, this week? Do you remember what Norman Fletcher did to David Bryant? We gave him a 7-0 first set win, wandered around the green, a bit like a gentleman, and then he rolled the sleeves up, he got out of business, the firing started, and Fletcher gave Bryant an almighty shock.
And in the same breath, we have to talk about the shock that Noel Burroughs received from the little Welsh lady, Julie Davis. He really did have to fight so desperately hard to get past her. But now these two great bowlers will represent so much to so many people in this country. In the eyeball-to-eyeball situation, David Bryant is in trouble. Noel, having shifted the shot bowl, has opened up the track on the forehand again. If he gets it right, oh yes, it's looking very good. definitely in there. David Bryant deciding what he's going to do about it. I would think that Noel Burrows is holding the one shot now that he needs to win the title. And yet the signs from Marker John Bell was, well, he pays your money and he takes your choice. I would say the blue bell at 10 o'clock from the jack is on. I have the feeling that it's going to change when David Bryant presents his third delivery to the jack. And David then. Could do a bit of damage here. Oh no, he's all right. And still room for Noel Burrows to curve round on the forehand. Must come in there.
And if he can reach a position just behind the jack, then he'll prevent David having the possibility of getting 3 for the set himself.
Noel's wife, Susan, looking away from the game, can hardly watch this delivery from her husband. Not a bad position. If he thinks he is holding it, it's not a bad position. On the other hand, the shot is there for David Bryant. If he can pick that jack up and run it backwards, he could even think in terms of getting the 3 shots he wants himself to win this set. He's very, very thoughtful. Do you think that he believes that he's on at the moment, Jimmy?
He's had several looks at it, so it must be really close. He's got a good eye. He's also looked at 2 balls that are planted short of the jack. Maybe in his mind to strike those 2 bowls as the best way of restoring shot to himself. Either shot would be pretty difficult.
Well, it's just possible. There's £10,000 resting on this delivery. And I think David is in a mood to take no chances. He's there to kill the end. On its travel. He's got it. And it's dead. So David must have believed that he was shot down. He strikes the jack, knocks it off the rink, and they have to start all over again. And the score is still Noel Burrows 6, David Bryant 4. See that slow-mo again, Jimmy. The best he's done for a long time. The most important, certainly.
Yes, a powerful strike. It hit his own back bowl and rebounded to the side. If, in fact, it had gone into the ditch, then he may have got the 3 shots that he needed for the set.
Well, that's why he's the world's #1. We've got to take a break at this stage, but don't worry, you won't miss a thing. We'll be rejoining the match for the next end. Welcome back. The Super Bowl 85 final is at a critical stage. 2-1 to Burroughs, 4th set. He needs just 1 shot for victory, but Bryant is battling hard to survive.
Well, there's a remarkable placing of the jack by Noel Burrows. Gone for a very, very short one. He's changed the distance entirely. Tactically, Brian Brett, do you think he might feel that David is now matching him on long draws?
Yes, but this is a length he likes. He's used this length regularly in the competition and done extremely well like that.
And they're packed in all around this arena. They've got 1,000 in here on the seats. They've got hundreds outside clamoring to get in, watching it on television monitors outside. Every vantage point is filled up with spectators looking at one of the great games of bowls for a very, very long time. Super Bowl here in Stage 1 in Manchester. David Bryant, the world champion 5 times, twice indoors, 3 times, twice outdoors, 3 times indoors, Commonwealth champion 4 times, England captain, England champion 15 times, British champion 8 times. The list is endless. And crown bowler Noel Burrows has him on the rack. He's leading 6-4 in this 4th set. And shot is against David Bryant. It's not gone in. Noel Burrows is still holding shot. Each bowler having delivered 2 bowls. Jimmy, can you remember tension in a bowls match like this?
Never before.
And outdoors in the Crown Green, Brian, apart from anything else, Noel will never have had spectators so close to him all the time, would they?
No, when you look down the rink off that mat and you've got banks of spectators either side and everybody is watching you and watching the end that might just decide Super Bowl, it's a tremendous ordeal.
Noel trying to draw backhand. And you wonder what tactically is going through his mind now. He's wondering, he knows he's up against a man who has outthought many, many, many of the world's greatest bowlers. Noel is holding the shot there. He's got the one he needs. Has he got to place bowls to protect it? David looking at the line, wondering where that jack would go if he makes contact with it. And David sets himself up on the mat. The arm starts to swing, the crowd start to buzz, and that will cause David to stop because they're so close to him either side of this rink. Now the concentration. And the firing shot with real weight. Bang on the target. No! By a whisker that went through. And basically he's committed himself, David Bryant. He has 1 bowl left in this head. So has Noel Burrows, and Noel looking at the front as though he's in 2 minds, Jimmy, as to whether to drop a block in or go all the way round and get close to the ditch. I wonder what his wife Susan would do in these circumstances.
Well, very difficult decision. Knows that there's pressure piling on David Bryant. He missed it by such a narrow margin that Noel will start to wonder whether he's going to repeat it. Personally, I go for the back bowl.
Well, there's a 1,000-strong audience here, plus the many more who have crowded in round the edges. Are all discussing it amongst themselves. The youngsters here who will be captivated by this game. perhaps sufficiently to take it up themselves. And Noel has bowled what I think is a very wasted bowl. That is neither one thing or the other. What do you think was in his mind there, Brian?
I think he was trying to put it in the way of the firing shot, and he was waving it across, but left it a good yard short. It's still exposed. Surely David Bryant will not miss this time.
David was no more than the width of a cigarette paper wrong on his last one. In fact, the whoosh of the ball going past just made the jack quiver for a second. But of course his situation is such, Noel Burrows looking down, the situation is such for David that he's missed it once. If he misses it again, the final goes to Noel Burrows. David figuring out where the ditch is, figuring out whether he can get anything out of this tour. His last firing shot was dead. He's got 2 bowls close to the jack. He's got 1 bowl to deliver. The '84 Super Bowl champion is under pressure to retain his title. If nothing happens to alter the head with this delivery, Noel Burrows will be the new champion. And he starts the concentration preceding another firing shot. He's got it this time.
That was an absolutely brilliant shot, and there are spectators standing here to applaud the total glory of it. Took the shot bowl out and scores 2 for himself and ties the match up at 6-6. And that was the masterstroke of one of the greatest bowlers the world has ever seen.
And that just highlights the problems facing Burrows, because he didn't get his blocker in and Bryant came careering through, just clipped out the shot wood to lie with to himself and put himself very much back in the game.
And there was no question of luck about that, Jimmy. I mean, David had been down there, he'd worked out all the angles, where the bowls would go, how they would clear other bowls there.
Yes, if he'd got the jack, it would have probably gone dead. Picked out the bowl, missed the jack by 1/1000th of an inch on the other side to take the bowl clean.
One of the great dramatic bowls of all time, and so the 4th set is now tied up at 6-6. And unless we get a dead end, the 4th set will be decided in just a few moments. David won't be at all unhappy about that. Noel looks to have a nice one here. A little bit short, but nevertheless on a good line.
How far am I through, John, please?
About 20 inches.
20 inches. And how far is the shot bowl short?
6.
The crowd disbelieving. In fact, what John Bell is saying is that it's 6 inches below being that jack high. It's certainly very much further than 6 inches from the jack. Yes, that was always the danger there. The blue bowl was bang in the draw, but shoving it forward that little bit may have eased the draw open a little bit more, Jimmy.
Yes, he was relying on verbal information before. He's now going to look at the head. That's what he sees, and there's still room on the forehand for the draw, and indeed he can use either of the bowls to work onto the jack.
Noel Burrows, who has been there or thereabouts for the championship, or the title, for the trophy, for the £10,000 prize, a couple of times in this set. He's now got to find the one shot that will win it for him again. Oh. Jeannette Conrad, who captivated audiences here in Superbowl and all around the country all this week, until she was finally put out by David Bryant, watching this match as intently as the other players up in that players' lounge. Looks to be good. No, it's going outside. Noel gets up there. He looks to see that, in fact, he's got two bowls closest to the jack at the moment. 3 deliveries to come. Only one of them belongs to David Bryant. No Burrows then. Changing his hand. Needs to drop one right on it. Well, he's shifted it back a little bit. And now David Bryant may feel that if he can get that jack, if he can get it back to the ditch. No. Well, the shot is still there, of course. The blue bowl is still holding the one shot. Jimmy, those 2 red bowls may be an inviting invitation, as it were, to David to get that jack through.
Indeed, the closest to the ditch, but he won't be looking for a trail. He only needs one. They both only need one shot now. So he's working out a way to get a single shot. He could draw it. He could try to face the shot bow. He could drive the jack into the ditch. All sorts of permutations.
Well, everybody up in the players' lounge has an opinion. There's Len Higginbottom there, Arthur Murray is there, you can see. Other bowlers further on down, Tony Poole in this corner of crown bowlers. Richard Britton there. Every one of them knows exactly what they would do. I wonder if David Bryant has worked out a plan to get this single shot that he needs to win the set and stay alive. There's a lot of money running on this bowl. I don't think there's any change. The one shot that he needs is there. Noel's wife Susan looks. The crowd are convinced. Now, does Noel need to deliver his last bowl? David looks down. Is it there or isn't it? Yes, the handshake from David Bryant indicates that the crown bowler, Noel Burrows, has taken the champion. Noel's wife Susan on her feet. Noel Burrows thrilled out of his mind by this. The Liverpool Victoria Insurance Super Bowl 1985. The champion is Noel Burrows. He has beaten the master, David Bryant, by 3 sets to 1. 7-6, 7-5, 0-7, 7-6 in one of the great all-time games of bowls. And Brian Brett, as a crown expert, this surely must warm your heart.
Well, it does indeed, Hugh. I'm just settling down after that one. Everybody's up on their feet. It is the most sensational result in the history of crown green bowls, possibly in any form of bowls. They just can't stop shaking hands out there. Everybody on their feet. Marvellous. There's wife Susan.
Noel wiping away beads of sweat from his forehead. This was the one great thing that he wanted. He'd won everything in the crown. He wanted something of great consequence on the flat. The £10,000 is marvellous. The Super Bowl trophy is terrific. But to have beaten the Maestro, David Bryant, here to take that trophy is the greatest thing that he's ever achieved.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I gather you enjoyed that. One of the great television occasions, I'm sure you'll agree, certainly in the past 12 months. Wasn't it sensational? Now, I'd like you to welcome the man who's going to make the presentations, the chairman of Liverpool Victoria Insurance, our sponsors this week, Mr. Ken Wilkinson. Well, first of all, the runner-up. He was champion 12 months ago, and he fought like a tiger this afternoon. He's still the world's #1, make no mistake about that. Finished second this year. The greatest ambassador in bowls, David Bryant. Now, who would have thought at the start of this week that we would have a crown green winner here this afternoon? It's all very well after the event. The winner, Super Bowls champion 1985, Noel Burrows. There's not a dry eye in the house.
Mine included.
Yeah. You never know quite what to say at moments like this, but this must be the greatest achievement you've ever had.
Yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah.
Noel's wife's over there. She was having a terrible time, wasn't she?
Yeah, actually, she's been marvellous. I mean, anyone that plays bowls knows that you can't go out and do the stuff if you haven't got a good lady behind you.
A word about Europe. You had an opponent this afternoon who made you work rather hard.
Yeah, well, let's face it, David, he's still the best in the world. By a long way.
Might be a bit of a celebration in the Red Lion tonight? Huh?
Bit of a chance. Bit of a chance, yeah.
Bit of a chance. I'm sure you would like to take this opportunity of thanking your supporters. There were just one or two in the audience.
Just a few thousand, yeah, yeah.
And I think they would also like to say how well David coped with that, because you're all supporting Noel, but... We're going to give you the opportunity of taking your trophy and showing it to all your fans.